Welcome to the Simply Wild podcast, where we come back to the wild within us. And listen, if you have not dipped into the podcast yet, you are beginning on the right episode, because I have my girl, the queen, my sister, who I will literally, to my grave, say that I'm her sister.
Yeah.
Jenna Rammell.
Hi.
Welcome. It's so official. It's so bizarre.
I know.
I feel like we should be like on my bed with microphones.
Totally. That'd be a fun
We could
podcast
have done that.
idea.
Yeah, we actually almost did, because the tile guys, this is the worst intro, but the tile guys are here and I thought we would be able to hear them. So I was like, let's just go do it upstairs. Psych, we're here. You guys, if you don't know Jenna Rammell, so this is what I do in my podcast. I don't do bios. I'm not like going to read a bio from you, because that's just not a thing. But let me just tell you, I'm actually going to go back to like the very first time I met you in the flesh. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember, but this is so fun.
I'm just going to go back because this is how I'm introducing. I mean, obviously, I could literally start crying about how much you mean to me, how dear you are to me, my sister, my lover, my friend. And it has been because of the relationship we've built. But it began, I really genuinely feel like it began because of your open heart that I just never even knew. Well, now I know, obviously, but let me go back. Alt Summit, like 2013.
Dying.
Right? Small fry. I was living in Idaho. I was trying to make it in the blogging scene. I didn't have any network or any connections. And I was like, I'm going to spend a lot of money and go. There was a lot of money for me at the time. It was back when I feel like the big bloggers were like, oh, maybe it still is. Are bloggers like celebrities now? Is there still like this facade that like influencers are?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, and also it's just like still a thing, I guess.
I think it is. I think we're less enamored with it.
Yeah.
Probably because of our age and our experience too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like my nieces and nephews meet their TikTok people and they freak out. Yeah.
I guess it'll always be a thing.
Yeah.
But I just remember coming upon your blog. I don't even remember how or when or what.
Are our dogs okay?
Yeah, they just ran upstairs.
Okay.
Jenna brought her dog, Pepper.
Two Frenchies are just running amok. And I saw in the reflection Henry and Jeff and Andrew just leave, and then the dogs. And I was just, we can edit this out.
The boys, no, it's great. The boys have the Frenchies.
Okay.
Anyway, so I just remember finding her blog and immediately connecting with her, Nicole and Emily, just like there's just this pod of psychotically talented, powerful Utah women that I had no idea was what I was actually going to get into when I, moved here a couple of years later. But anyway, we were at Alt Summit and you were at some dinner and I was like, I'm so scared. I'm going to go up and say hi to her. I was so nervous. And I came up and you were like, oh my gosh, you're so gorgeous. Sit by me. How are you? Like, just so kind.
I'm so glad I was. I loved you from the start.
You were so kind. And then you were like, let's get in with a picture. I mean, back then I was just this was like 2013. I don't even remember how old I was. I was so lost. I was so confused. I was just trying to find a place in my space and not even in myself. I couldn't even look at myself at that point. I was just looking outside of myself. But it really began something so beautiful. I think I reposted one of your like Whole30 pictures of like an egg on a plate, thinking it was so beautiful. And it was. Anyway, here we are. How many years later? Oh, 2013. That was 11 years.
Yeah.
How cute of us.
Yeah, that's so cute. I can't believe you even remember dates.
Yeah, I
don't you feel like you glitch a little? Like, I sort of only remember now, unless I'm really forced to like think back.
Yeah, when I go back to her, I think, when I go back to like thinking about how enamored and how I wanted so badly to be accepted and seen, and really was just all about wanting to feel like I had a place so that my voice could be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny that comes through, because in different stages of my business, and I know you understand this, in different stages of our life, we've gone through that, where I felt maybe at home at one space and one time, and now I grow and I'm in a different place. And you see that space growing. I mean, it's like friendships. We talk about friendships, losing connections, whatever it is. And that feels sad, hard. And yet here we are. Still
11 years. It feels like longer than that to me.
Been through so many different changes.
In a beautiful way.
So I know. Well, we've known each other in past lives for sure.
For sure.
So one thing I love about Jenna, obviously, is just who she is. I mean, radiates joy. You radiate so much beauty and belonging in yourself. And I've always really honored that. And the other thing I really love about her is, if you don't know, she owns a highly, incredibly successful multi-million-dollar skincare company that is so incredible. She is one of my dearest friends that actually really inspires me in an entrepreneur front to continue to grow, to continue to mold, to continue to reach. And she's one of my only relations that I can like really text her and be like, bro, this is what I'm wanting for my launch. This is what I'm, like we really like work together on goals, which
and we
is like
push each other.
So fun.
Yeah, it is so fun to have that, especially with women in business. It is hard to find those relationships. I only have a couple people that I feel I can really trust to give what my real dreams are.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're just so conditioned to hide our real aspirations. And it's fun to have that with you where I can say, this is what I want to do. I don't know if I'm going to get there, but, and I lean on your belief so much because I'll get there, but I'm not totally sure yet. And so it's so beautiful to have that for myself too.
Yeah. I mean, in a world where, there's just so much talk around motherhood or business or entrepreneurship or being selfish with your goals. It's so nice to have somebody who you can be like, no, literally, I'm shooting for the moon. Here I am. And the person can be like, you're going to get there. And also realistically, where are we at now? And also, can you just like pull your head out of your ass for 1 second and honor that we live a life that we dreamt of living back when we met each other in 2013?
Yes.
Like thinking back to who we were then is so humbling.
Totally. And it's so funny because you're like, I just wanted to be seen, and I just wanted to be seen too. Like we both were just people wanting to be seen and witnessed, and we weren't able to achieve that because we weren't doing it for ourselves yet. And so it's interesting to be like, we were just both in the same boat.
Yeah, in different places.
Yeah.
And isn't that how it is always? When people come or meet me in person, or when you meet somebody, that's how it always is for me. I'm like, no, we're literally the same people.
Same.
We're going through the same things. I might have figured out something different along the way, but so have you. And so we can collaborate in that, which is why community is so important and special. And I really love this concept too, because it makes, for anybody who's listening, this is like so a tangent. That's not even, we weren't even going to talk about this, but I think that piece about community is so important, especially in like the Utah culture where there's just so many different, or it seems like there's so many different cliques. But I promise you, if you're willing to open your heart and just be open to like network and see and feel, although I'm not as close to some people as I was before when I was back in different stages of my life, I still have such respect and love for them. And that can continue. Like, you hear like your people get smaller, your circle gets smaller. That might be true, but also that doesn't mean you have to completely, like the circle doesn't have to be like a small cage arena, right? Like it can be open to connecting with so many people. And I know that you have done that too so well. In fact, it's one thing I really honor about you because you still live in the town you grew up in.
Yeah.
And you still have friends from high school.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's so funny because I've lived so many different places. Even in my childhood, I was back and forth, but Provo was this like home base for us. It was what I knew. And so to be there in that experience, but be a totally different person and yet still have these relationships, it's really cool evidence to me that people can change as much as they'd like, and that there's still these threads and these things that can connect us. And I think that's something I do love about myself is I can find connection with anyone.
Yep. I think that you can do that because, and I'm doing this based off of my own experience, what I loved about you was your frequency, and that hasn't actually changed because there has been a knowing of who you are. And I think that stemmed from your childhood of like having so deeply to just like honor who you were in your own way. And we'll get into that story soon, but that frequency doesn't change. Like we can change, we can evolve, we can come home even more and even deeper. But the people that really see us for who we are, they will always last. So when you see people in the grocery store that you knew forever, or like you comment on somebody, or you're still following somebody, like there's just this like camaraderie that happens when you grow together in like the influencer networking space, which I'm so grateful for. And I'm actually so grateful for that little girl in 2013 that was just so embarrassed and yet put herself out there and said hi to you and Susan and Allison and Ashley, like all these people.
Yeah.
And I still have deep connections with them.
Yeah. So fun.
So fun. So your frequency, who you are, and coming back to your wild, I want to know what you want people to learn about Jenna. Like, how did you even get here? And how did you get to where you were in 2013? And just tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, where do I even start? Really?
Yeah.
You got to give me more. Like,
okay, I want you to talk
on
about
June 14th, 1985.
Literally.
I was born. The thing is,
my Gemini generator princess.
Hello.
I want to know what's on your heart. Just like think about if somebody was listening about coming back to your wild or finding your frequency, like what has brought you to who you are. And that really does start for you at your birth. I mean, for everybody, but it's a special piece of your story.
Yeah. I think a big piece of my story is that I was placed for adoption. My birth mom, who I actually recently learned was actually 15 when she had me. I thought she was 16. So she got pregnant when she was 14, which is just wild to consider.
Like Reagan.
I mean, Quinn's 15. Yeah, my oldest son. It's a huge piece of my story, and one that I think I felt a lot of shame. Well, I felt a lot of shame around it, sort of in the constructs of religion. It was really confusing for me to understand that. Like, how are we together? How are we connected? Because in Mormonism, it's like you're born into a family, and so that means you're born into the covenant, and that means, I assume a lot of your listeners aren't Mormon, so it's like, how do you explain that? It's like you're born into.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a belief that was taught. I don't actually know how many are and aren't. So
I don't know. So I think there were a lot of pieces that were already missing for me where
it felt confusing to you.
It felt confusing. And then without the religious piece, it's already confusing because it's like you don't totally look like your parents, even though I think we've sort of morphed into each other. It's literally bizarre. But you don't physically, your mom never talks about the day you were born or just little things. You don't have your grandpa's eyes, like things like that I think already disconnect you from a heritage, but you're supposed to feel connected to like this heritage. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that for me was just like very disconnected. And I have the best parents on earth. They're the most wonderful humans. And there's nothing they could have done about that. Like they did everything they could to help me feel grounded, to help me feel connected. And I just always felt a little bit above the earth, like just floating and not really sure where to anchor. Yeah. I think that's a thread through my entire life is like, what do I hold on to? What do I latch onto? And it's been different things at different times. It's been religion, it's been people, it's been addictions, it's been whatever it's been, that's what I'll cling to, a belief. And I think this coming into myself of clinging to myself has probably been in the last, 10 years. That's probably even generous, probably really, truly 5 years, maybe longer.
Beautiful.
And, so I think really evolving into this understanding of what do I belong to? Who do I belong to? Because when you stake so much claim, I mean, these are the constructs of our life. This is the conditioning that we experience is where do I belong from the minute you're born. Yeah. It's like, this is the family you belong to.
And
this is the tribe
so much.
Right.
Like where am I in this?
Right.
Oh, I'm literally, it feels like it minimizes you so deeply because the emphasis on that is so deeply ingrained.
Yeah. And so finding that belonging, I don't know that I think it's hard for everybody. I think everyone really, if they look within themselves, they're not sure where they belong either.
Yeah.
Adopted or not. Step families, mixed families, whatever, whatever, no family is like this perfect ideal, like stick figure family. So regardless of kind of where we're born, I think that we all sort of can identify with where do I belong?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then growing up, we moved around a ton. Like Provo was our home base, but we lived overseas for my dad's work. And so then I was a minority there, and I was American, I was Christian, I was Mormon. And so it's like whittling down these things. And it's like this labeling of this is who you are, this is where you belong. Still sort of being like, I don't know that I totally belong there, but I'm supposed to claim it because this is something I can attach to because I'm not safe here. So I can attach myself to my parents, or I can attach myself to this religion, or I can attach myself to being from Utah or American or brunette or whatever it is you identify. And it's like, that's what I can attach to. So that feels safe.
Do you remember a specific time in your childhood where you can remember clinging to something within yourself? Was there ever a moment where you were like, okay, this is me. I know this is my safety place. This is my frequency. This is where I can like honor, because I hear you saying, you know, ungroundedness. And I've always been curious, like from that realm of being adopted and feeling so floaty, how did you do it?
That's such a good question. I've never thought about that.
Like, I wonder if there's a theme. Like,
where did I feel grounded?
Yeah. Like, I wonder if it was that you really clung to, because what I think about this is why I ask, is like that thread weaves into, if you were really to look at it, I would bet that it would weave into everything that you even do now. Right. So was it prayer? Was it kneeling? Was it knowing that you had angels around you? Was it humming? Was it, you know, looking in the mirror? Was it a hug from your father? Was it, you know,
definitely being with my parents, my dad especially, it has always been very, very grounding for me. A really, really safe place for me, my dad. And listening.
Our dogs are going crazy.
Is it going to be too loud in here?
I think it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
I think about something that comes to mind is listening to music with my dad. That's a big part of my childhood. Musicals.
I have chills everywhere.
Whitney Houston, soul music, like the Supremes, Diana Ross. We'd listen to Celine Dion, Mariah Carey. We would just like blast music in our house. And my dad would call it not selective listening. I don't know what he would call it. I'm going to have to text him and ask him, but we would lay on the floor and we had this cool, like the 5 CD. We could have 5 CDs.
Coolest.
And my dad had a remote that he could like shift the CDs and the songs. And we'd lay on the ground and we would just like listen to songs
together.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'd do road trips. We'd listen to Elvis. And
wait, I need more of a visual. So where you're like heads together, are you laying on the ground? Like
we're laying pillows with like the couch is right here. And then we'd set up pillows and then we'd lay on like our heads on the pillows laying. Yeah.
For like hours, just listening to songs, singing
just
together?
listening to songs. And my dad would play piano and we would.
That is the sweetest thing. I'm going to cry. I think I've ever heard.
I don't think I've ever told you that story. I don't think I've ever said that story out loud. Don't cry.
I'm totally crying. That is so sweet.
Yeah, I've never thought about how much that meant to me.
Well, I mean, I asked because I could see threads, even just me being your sister, like them leaving for their missions is always really difficult for you.
Yeah.
And music's been something that was always so profound for you. And we'll even weave into like our relationship and but it's those moments. And even thinking about, I've never got emotional in a podcast. I swear this is my rose dieta. I'm dieting the rose and I'm feeling like my heart's super open. But those moments, I mean, I even think about the symbolism of you laying on the ground and how that would like make you feel grounded to like the roots of the earth and just like feeling safety in that moment. And also like, I want to just mention like how rad it is that moment had nothing to do with outside of you. No religion, no belief system in who you weren't. It's just a love from a father.
Yeah.
So special.
Yeah. I think that's what's so hard about like deconstructing religion is that you think you have to lose all those things too. And religion has a way of deciding that those things are because of this construct and this belief system. And it's like, no, that's just a really awesome dad laying with his daughter and teaching her about Whitney Houston, teaching her about Mariah Carey.
How old were you? Do you remember?
I mean, that's my whole life. I don't know. So I remember this one time, like road tripping with my dad. And we had this like white Honda Civic in Jordan, the country of Jordan. And travel is another way that, I mean, we traveled my whole life. My dad showed us so many countries and religions and beliefs and cultures. And food. And we just lived a really unique childhood that I love and that I feel really sad that I'm not giving my kids. It sometimes hits me and I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Because that's such a valued part of my life. And I feel
travel with them all the time.
I know, but like not in this way.
I mean, you can't take a family of 5 to Jordan.
6.
Yeah.
And like we went to like Syria that doesn't even exist. I mean, it does, but like you can't go there.
I mean, 7 if you're including Pepper, but like.
Yeah. I mean, so we're driving around Jordan and my dad has this tape and it's Elvis. And I will not forget, we road tripped and we rated like Elvis songs together. And I'll never forget the way that felt to me. Is just to like open my mind and like listen to music. Like music was just always a big part. Music, traveling, those things.
Beautiful.
Service always grounded me. I think that's a thread that like still really grounds me to this day is being able to support and help others. And I think I know that's something that in that time in my life grounded me too.
It's such a nice thread too, even now, because there are moments when not necessarily bitterness, but there's so much difference now in beliefs. Yeah. And I know that you understand that. But one thing that I mean, there's many things, but one thing I will always take back is, or take with me is this idea of Christ consciousness, of service, of bringing that forward.
Yeah.
And you do that so well with your business, with your platform, continually.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's amazing. Thanks. I see it in you and you see it. Okay, so we're grounding through music and travel and connection with freaking Jim. I love Jim.
I love him. And prayer and my religion. Honestly, I look at those years of girls camp and young women's and I had great leaders that loved me and neighbors that were there for me and that I served with, and especially living overseas. I mean, that was our community. That was what grounded us, was like, we're a small group and we all believe this thing together.
Yeah.
There is unity in that. Yep. I absolutely understand the appeal, the safety, the attraction, the need, the actual visceral need for religion. I do.
Yeah.
Because I needed it too. Yep. And it gave me a place to be and a place to belong to. When we moved back to Utah when I was 14, I remember going like so nervous to my first Young Women's activity. And I don't know how it's hard when you're on a podcast because it's like, do people know what these are?
I know, it's great. You just Young Women's activity is just a time where the women in the church, the young women in the church, get together and have
the girls.
Moment. Yeah.
And I came out and I that's where I met my best friend in the car. And she had just moved from Hong Kong and I had just moved from Jordan in the Middle East. And we were just these weirdo kids that had this weird experience. And now we're suddenly like in the heart of
Mormonville,
Mormon, Utah County. And we were like, that, and there's a place I clinged.
Yeah.
And that's Ryan. Did you ever meet Ryan? No. I mean, she's lived in the Bay Area now like 10 years.
Well, didn't Quinn go and hang out with them? Stay with them?
Yeah.
So I know of her.
Yeah. And our parents are still neighbors.
Cute.
Yeah. So they're very good friends. But, that gave me a place to cling and a place to be. And that's why it's hard for me to really, I just can't disavow all of it. It doesn't make sense for me. There's so much love and safety and community and belonging in that place that mean a lot to me still. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more, because I mean, as cliche and it's said over and over, like those are what weaved us even into the foundation of a higher power, or even believing in ourselves even more, even within the misconceptions of our truth or our power or our purpose. The foundation of understanding that we're not alone is so powerful. And I know you wouldn't take any of it back. And I wouldn't take any of it back. Now, the road to get to where we are now, it's been crazy difficult, but also crazy empowering and powerful. So you had that space, and then Andrew came in, and you guys met in high school, right?
No, we went to the same high school.
Oh.
But he was like, he moved out his senior year. Like they moved to DC. remember? And he left for his mission from there. So I was a freshman at Timpview when he was supposed to be a senior. But Ryan, her older brother, was best friends with Andrew.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's all this cool synergistic
we're going to talk more about
we met.
Yeah. We're going to talk more about that because we're going to have both of them on the podcast and I'm going to ask them about their love because for me it feels so like high school sweethearty.
It is in a lot of ways because we went to the same sandwich shops. We had the same friends. We had the same high school teachers, like it is fun to have connected and belonged. Again, another place of belonging, another place of safety.
And I bring him in too because I know that he has been one of those for you.
Huge grounding for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even in human design, it's so interesting because Jenna, for those that know human design, can I talk about your human design?
Of course.
She's all defined from her identity center from her sacral center all the way up to her head center. Completely defined, which is like, oh my gosh, so neurotic.
It's so insane.
It's so insane.
Imagine living
and
like
also brilliant. That's where you're brilliant. Like you are brilliant. And also that's where, if you know Jenna, you can tell like the open centers of her root center, her ego, her emotional, her spleen, all those cause that anxiety and that depth of ungroundedness that you felt.
Yeah.
And Andrew is also a generator. He's also a Gemini. And he has all of his 4 centers below defined. And so this doesn't happen very often when I like do compatibility charts or when I look at compatibility, but their charts perfectly like a puzzle piece clock in together. It's so cute. And I actually probably should have saved this for the next podcast, but I love talking about that because I'm bringing up now because that ungroundedness, it's so interesting to see the themes that we felt as a child, obviously like illuminated because of our traumas or our past, but also so synchronized, mirrored through human design.
I just felt like there were times in my childhood I remember like riding in a car in the back seat and looking out the window and thinking I was looking at my life like it was a movie. I wasn't there. I was like just observing the people in my life.
Yeah.
Like, look at this character in this movie and she's in the back of a car and she's going to the mall with her mom. I just never felt a part of my own life, truthfully.
When did that change?
That's no one's fault.
No.
I just think it was.
I actually don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's an actual deep, not just your human design, but I think that's a really deep reflection.
Yeah.
And I also think that's really deep for a child to feel that. I also wonder if maybe it was like a little bit of a protection mechanism for you where you were like, well, I'm just going to like kind of watch my life go by. Maybe it was that you didn't feel like you had much control.
Maybe.
And so you felt that, I mean, I'm just literally like pulling this out of my ass, but it feels like it could have been like, oh, I guess this is my life now. I mean, because that can feel that way when you're told to believe something and when you're told to do this and when you're told, oh, these are your parents now.
Yeah.
Like I can imagine that would feel really ungrounding.
Yeah. And I think like I read this thing from, Dr. Becky, the therapist, the other day, and she was like, look at all the ways that kids are being told what to do. Did you see that post?
No, but
it's just like they're being told what to do all day long. Yeah. Like giving them that sovereignty and like that autonomy to make decisions. I mean, they don't need to decide things that will harm them, but like making decisions on maybe food or when they, whatever.
Yep.
Decisions, give them opportunities to make decisions as much as you can. And I will say, I don't feel like I had those choices. I feel like my life was really, really structured, which is hilarious if you know me now, because structure is really difficult for me and form are really difficult for me to stick with. In my house as a mom, I'm very free flowing.
But that's also such a gift. You realize you're giving that to your kids.
Yeah.
Such a gift. Like the polar opposite of that is so much beauty. And our kids, we know this, generations, every time they come more and more enlightened, and my kids could not have any more form. I mean, of course, we give them the roots of their chakras, right? Their groundedness, their safety, their stability of a roof over their head. But how beautiful that they get to live in the chaos of the Rammell life and just do all the things that they're doing. I would say I want to even just like tie this in and integrate this now, because I know you were like, I wish I could take them to Jordan.
Yeah.
But the lessons and the life that you're giving them now is so full that they'll do the same thing for their child. Like I hope that I can do that for my kids as well. And I would even suggest that it's even more full because you're giving them the space to step into themselves. I think that we all know the prefrontal cortex is not developed until our late 20s, so we understand. However, that doesn't mean that we can't understand and ignite and invite children to give us their 2 cents to help them be part of the family. And I think you do that really well with your kids, especially with your projector, which is so cute to see.
So kind. Yeah. I just think those of us that have kind of grown in this really structured, strict form, whatever it looks like, it doesn't have to be just religion. I'm sure there's other homes that are very structured. Your mind isn't really free to wander where it really wants to go. You don't get to discover and move and think about, oh, what if? And like the imagination is sort of stifled because you can't imagine a life without that. And so it sort of like stops you from going beyond that. And so I don't feel like I really was in consciousness for a long time because I was just doing what I was told and conditioned to do, which it's fine. What it is. Yeah, it is fine.
When did that veil begin to thin? When you were like, okay, I am done watching my life be a movie, and I'm going to take charge for myself, maybe get grounded a little bit more.
I really felt when we were living in California and I had a lot of questioning. I'd always I remember one of my grounding things in life. I love this question that you posed at the beginning. It's just like all these things are coming to my brain, but 4:00 Oprah every single day on a banana chair. Why don't they make banana chairs anymore? Those are they're the best.
They're the best.
Do they even make them?
And you can float on them. You know what? You know why they're the best? Because our neurodivergent bodies want to rock.
Yes, we can rock. We can balance. 4:00 every day. I watched Oprah.
Oh my gosh, should we buy banana chairs for our kids?
Absolutely. That's the download here.
Okay, I'm gonna write it down as a note because we're gonna forget.
Yes.
Okay, Oprah, banana chair. Wait, but this is California. You're like a mother.
No, I'm sorry. I went to California, but my ADD just took me back to my childhood. I'm so sorry.
You're talking about grounding.
I'm saying I had always sought something different. And I found that in Oprah. She'd have therapists. She'd have different people of different
Well, you found that in music.
Walks of life. I mean, yes, of course, music too.
Well, I'm just saying the thread of like the difference.
Yes.
Like you liked variety.
Yes.
Which you still do.
Yes. And like she would just bring on people that were thinkers and pushing envelopes, and she would serve. And like, I just loved her. I loved her. And I watched her every single day at 4:00 Mountain Standard Time on a banana chair, rocking back and forth. And so I feel like there were little things and I bring up Oprah because it's like, there were things in my life where I was seeking things outside of my religion that would teach me. I always wanted to read books or watch shows that made me think. I was always a really, really deep thinker.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I was already kind of like navigating that and sort of following thought leaders and being really inspired by that. And when I would say really my sort of, I would say maybe breaking point, not breaking point necessarily, but a really big point in my life was when we were going to move from California back to Utah. And I loved the independence that we'd gained in California, the autonomy, like the way I could think and freely move in the way that I knew how at that time. I was really, really scared to move back here. And that's when I realized like, wow, life was kind of happening to me when I was living here. And Andrew and I and our 3 kids at the time were sort of navigating a way to create a life for ourselves in California. And that had never happened before. We just sort of integrated into the life of our families and into my in-laws and into like my friends.
This is how you do life.
This
is the only life you've seen. So this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah. And so when I was about to move back, I really got scared of what that would look like. And some things happened with my friend and we had like a big blowing up. And that's when I found emotion code. That's when I found like energy work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was like my first introduction into trapped emotions. And that, can you even believe that? It's like,
I know.
the life we live now
I
is
know.
so
I know.
obvious to me
I know.
that I'm kind of like, what was I doing up to that
Yeah.
point? I really don't even know.
I know.
I don't even know.
I think about it like being asleep and awake.
Yeah.
Like how you were saying how you weren't conscious. Like you were just watching your movie. Your life is a movie. Like for me, I was just so like, what do I can't, there's nothing to do. Like
there's nothing more than just that. Of course there's something more. Like we believe in God, we believe in a heaven, but like people are the way they are and there's not much more to it. And there's so many judgments and ego and like, there's nothing under the surface.
Yeah. And when you get older and you have kids and you're like watching Oprah and then you're like, but wait, there has to be more. This feels confusing. Or your anxiety doesn't go away. You're doing all the things, you're checking all the boxes, and they don't even call it anxiety. I don't know what they would call it. Like it's all so surface. And you're like, there has to be something more to this. And you found it.
Yeah.
I mean, the start of it.
The start of it, I would say that's the start of it.
Beautiful.
And then little kind of dropping, like little kind of just like drip, like a slow drip of that. Like that just introduced me to, wow, I'm feeling this way, not because I didn't get invited to this thing. I'm feeling this way because also when I was 4, I didn't get invited to this thing.
Yeah.
And how do they correlate? And why am I feeling something so big for something so small? I'd never thought about why, you know? And that's where I read the book, Feelings Buried Never Die. And just sort of kind of,
which is essentially like inner child work.
right.
I mean, because that's what it is it's layered on layered on layered. There's no reason why one little non-invite would hurt you so bad, except it's so much deeper to when we were malleable and conditioned and brainwashed as a child. Like it just all means so much more. But then once you open that gate, you're like, oh, nothing makes sense because everything has to be unwind.
Yeah.
Has to unwind.
Has to unwind.
Did you feel that? Or was it slow enough for you to be like, okay, I can handle this?
It was, I mean, there's been times when it's been too much, but I think it's been I think the universe and God have really showed me things as I've been ready for them.
Absolutely.
And I'm grateful for that.
So can you imagine if it had done any faster?
No.
I think about that a lot too. Well, like your and Andrew's journey was different than Jeff and ours as far as essentially it was done a little bit together.
Yeah.
But I think it happens in the most perfect time for the person and what they are able to, because it can just be so mind-blowing.
Yeah, I think for me too, with my neurodivergency, it's like, can you imagine? No, I wouldn't have survived. You can't give me all the information at once. I won't be able to even retain it.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like an introduction into that space. And then, you know, and that really saved me for a long time. And I was probably 30. Yeah. I've been here 8 years. So yeah, I would say it's been an 8-year journey then.
Okay.
Of really like seeking consciousness.
Yeah.
Seeking awakeness, seeking grounding.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, from there, I think I found little things like energy work and yoga and hypnosis and different things that would sort of, and oils and crystals. Like crystals was like a big segue for me of like feeling like there's something here, there's something grounding for me here. And I know that my religion doesn't maybe like this, but like I can be both things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found frequency of love and peace and grounding in those things, nature, outside, those beginning places.
Yeah. Well, it's fun too to see like, did you ever have moments in your childhood where you're like, oh, I feel so at home at nature? Was it ever like a grounding piece for you?
Yeah.
Because I think like if we had all the time in the world, we could go back and like write them all down and then like see how they connect here. And they were just unconsciously calling to you because they had that frequency that you were desiring. And now consciously you're like, oh, this is why I liked smelling perfumes, or this is why I like this oil, or why this oil that I found when I was in Jordan called to me and now I find it here. And you're like the oil queen. Like, I feel like you were talking about oils before oils were even a thing.
Yeah, I know. I really kind of think that too.
You really like started that.
I was always
that was your
like,
thing to me.
yeah.
I feel like that was like your segue into like really finding.
Well, the oils were connected with emotions and that we could feel better if we smelled certain oils. And I remember there was this oil called Balance and it had all the roots of the trees of like fir and vetiver and like just the sap, like the innards of the trees. And I would smell it and I'd be like, like a deep breath, like an exhale, I'm going to be okay. Like those were, like looking back now, like those were ways that I was like, there's something more here for me. I don't just have to be here. I can be more grounded.
Yeah. I mean, I think even looking at your human design, it's can be a struggle for you.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. So, it's the thing you talk to me the most about. Have you done this? Have you done that? I'm like, Sadie, I don't feel good. I don't feel like I feel bad. I feel confused. I feel chaotic. And she's like, oh, have you put your feet on the ground? Have you done anything?
Have you done anything
to ground yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's interesting and beautiful is that the shadow of that is also your highest light. Like your mind is brilliant. It's brilliant and it's always been so pure and it always has been able to execute. I mean, the things that you come up with in your brain, it's beautiful. So it's navigating both of those. And I would also say it's coming home to trusting your mind, to trusting your beliefs. And that is another piece to this journey where as you unravel and as you come home to yourself, maybe when did that start clicking in? Like, okay, wait, I have this belief that's different than what I was raised. How am I going to believe it? How am I going to strengthen that muscle?
I think I knew that things were going that way. And I was like, how can I be sure of who I am? Everything feels different. Every single thing feels different when the one thing that I was clinging to is now not the thing I can cling to anymore. And so it's like freaking scary. And little things, friendship with you, friendship with so many beautifully enlightened people that shared with me their gifts and their wisdom. And like, I'm like, yeah, I see myself there too. I don't see myself here. I see myself there. And how do I make sense of all this? And, finding enlightenment where I could, finding this grounding where I could, like breath work, sound bowls, things like that feel kind of like, I wouldn't say introductory. Does that feel like insulting?
No.
Just safer than plants.
Oh, yeah. I actually talk about this where there's like a mild, medium, and deep.
Yeah.
Into like mind opening, neural pathway changing, and sound is a very gentle. It's not insulting because also like I'm so grateful that we found our own paths in those times as well. Leo just ran down the stairs.
Cute.
Leo is chasing them. That's so cute. Oh, is she gonna? They're so cute. I am dying.
We might have to edit this out, but I don't think I've ever seen Pepper with a cat. Where is he?
They were just chasing. I don't know where he went, but
he's probably like, you guys are psycho. I'm not.
Leo loves
Daisy.
He?
Oh yeah. How's he doing with that?
They love each other.
Good.
It's so cute, actually. Good. So it's beautiful because I'm grateful that I found yoga and hypnotherapy before I found. I would have never survived, like you said, ever. I actually got introduced. I mean, we'll talk about grandmother in a second, but I got introduced to it or invited by Tug Cartwright years before I said yes. I am so glad I said no.
Right.
So it's just these things that you're like, oh my gosh, these bowls, this frequency. Oh wait, it makes sense. Why have I loved crystals for decorations? Oh, they bring a frequency, like
plants, all sorts of things.
You're
it's just
freaking
like
olive tree in your entryway.
I know. I have this huge olive tree in my entryway, and I was like, this is so grounding to me. And I just used to think about in that Christian construct, like the Savior and the peace and like the way the olive tree fed all the people. It sustained life in the desert. I just found symbolism in so many things. And looking back, I'm like, oh, you always knew. You always knew. Your soul always knew. We talk about that our souls are like these ancient wise. We were there in the pre-existence or whatever, whatever. And and then we are like, no, we don't know anything.
Yeah.
We're like deny ourselves this wisdom that we do know.
I know. It's so stunning. And that's what, like 2013, when I met you, it wasn't even anything other than your frequency. And that was coming from, because I knew that you knew, and I knew that you felt that, and the tenderness of everything. It all comes back to intention, and you are so intentional with everything, and you feel that so deeply. And I do believe that a lot of, being neurodivergent or ADHD, it has its challenges. And yes, I feel like it's such a gift, because I feel things so deeply that I see the intention to detail so deeply. And I know that that's the same for you.
Yeah.
And so everything is either like pokey, or it's smooth, or it's gentle, or it's graceful, or it's like, oh, no, that doesn't work for me, which is, I think, goes simultaneously with your journey into coming home to yourself, as you started to like recognize that was happening.
Yeah. And I was willing to learn. I've always been like I feel like I've been a humble learner.
Yeah. Always learning.
Yeah. Just, I'm okay with being a student. I don't need to be the mentor or like the know it all or like the teacher. I don't need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I am so okay with being the student. So I would do things like that would just kind of open my heart and open my mind, but keep me safe in my other way, in my other belief. And, I did Simply Wild, and that was huge for me. That was like, Sadie was a huge part of my journey of like feeling safe to do something brave, like I wouldn't have signed up to go with anybody else. I wouldn't have done that. And those experiences were so shifting for me, so changing. Like I couldn't look back now and compare that to grandmother and be like, well, that was just not the same. It is not the same, but it was just as transformative.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah. I loved when you said you were going to do it. I was like, first of all, I don't believe you. Not because I didn't think you were possible, but like, not that I didn't think that you could, because I knew you could.
It's okay that, yes, no, I couldn't.
I knew you could. You were so in your head, especially back then, like we all were.
Yeah.
But there was such a beautiful moment when we were prepping for backpacking, and you were trying to take literally 25 oils in your backpack.
I'm like, what if there are burns? What if there are scrapes? What if there are bad feelings?
It was so cute.
We need them all.
Yeah. You wanted to be the mom, the mother hen. You had this arsenal of tools. And I was like, girl. And what's so beautiful about,
do you remember what oil I kept?
Frankincense.
Rose.
Stop.
Yes.
I thought it was 2.
It was frankincense and rose.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Of course. Cheers to
rose.
Cheers.
We're drinking our rose water.
I made her rose water today.
How cool is that? How cool is that story chills. Now?
That's
rose
really
is
cool.
Everything.
Everything.
The
highest frequency.
Yeah.
Okay. But what's interesting is what's cool about Simply Wild, and you can do this anyway, but what backpacking is, you release attachments.
Yeah.
We get our worths from so many different attachments. And especially ours from our upbringing. And yet I love that was a pivotal piece for you to like, be like, oh, well, I guess my worth is climbing my ass up this mountain by myself.
Yeah.
Without the oils.
And leaving my phone.
Dude, the worst.
That was the hardest thing for me, was just 4 days without my phone. And the attachments of, if I'm not in my family's life 24/7, how will they know where to be? How will they get to the places? How will they be safe? Like the belief was they'll die if I don't have my phone.
Yeah.
Right. Or they'll die and I won't find out, or whatever it is. Like it's another thing I cling to.
Yeah.
We all do it.
Yeah.
Like our attachments to anything we can find.
Yeah.
Anything other than ourselves. So that was like a big turning point for me. And what year was that? That was 2019. It was before 2020.
Yeah. It was beautiful. It? Yeah. It's 2020. Sorry, 2019.
So from there, I was just doing, a lot of work, therapy, different things like that. And I really think it was Andrew sitting with ayahuasca. Was that it?
I wonder. I was going to ask you.
I don't want to give him that credit, because it's like, wait a second. I was doing all the things and he was not doing all the things. And then he was like, I'm going to go do ayahuasca.
But you guys both like were talking amongst yourselves at night, surely, and saying
100%. But that was about church. As far as like energy work and rocks and crystals and yoga, and I was doing the woo-woo, the witch
of course, that's
craft.
the feminine. That's the feminine. The feminine lays the stones, and then the husband's like, I'm going to go kill the deer. Essentially, I'm going to go kill my ego with an ayahuasca.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
But he would have never gone to kill the deer if you hadn't first laid with him and made him stew.
Thank you.
Essentially, the bowls, prepared the way.
Yes.
And then he did.
And
at our house, at my house.
Yeah. And we can talk about that when we get all together if we want. But I remember had we been in therapy at that point? I can't remember, marriage therapy. But he came home from that experience, and Sadie knows. I was like, there is no way in hell I'm ever doing that with you idiots. You guys can go live your freaking crazy, psychotic plant medicine drug life, and I'll be over here being better than all of you, honestly.
And she would say that word for word. Literally, you're idiots. Never. In fact, never once did I tell her about any of, and at that point, okay, when did he sit? Was it 2021? It had to have been, because I sat at 2020.
Yeah.
And maybe
I don't even think I knew you sat. And we're very close. I don't know what I thought you were doing on the weekends. I don't, like, what did I think? What did you even say?
I mean, here's the thing.
You were living in a lot of
I was
secrecy at the time.
Totally.
Yeah.
I felt like,
so it doesn't surprise me that you weren't like transparent. We're different now.
Well, the thing is it was like I had found this new thing that I had to learn about myself. Well, actually take that part out, because that's not true. I felt so much sacredness around it.
Yeah.
And I also could feel who was like kind of resistant. And I was like, I can't sit down with Jenna and be like, Jenna, I went and talked to the pharaohs.
Makes perfect sense, because I feel the same way now.
And you would be like,
yeah,
you're an idiot. You're doing drugs. Bye. So it was like something that we couldn't even, I just kept close to my heart. And I also kept it close to my heart because I was reeling with the idea of, is this good? Is this right? Am I good? Am I just doing drugs? Am I using an excuse to this? It was such a, and that's why I asked you, like, how has it been coming home to knowing that what you know is good and what you are is good? Because for me, in my journey of that, if I knew it was opening my mind, but I just had to make sure it was like good.
Yeah. I don't blame you, because I feel the same way now, where I'm like, there's a certain person I'm going to talk to about it. It's completely sacred to me.
Yeah.
It is. And it is a testimony to me.
It's laughable to me how anti you were. Like, if anybody was more anti, it would have been Jenna Rammell.
But you know what? I wasn't anti because I was anti-drugs. I don't think that was it. It was anti-letting go of control. Why would you guys go in a room and puke and feel disgusting and see whatever it is you want to see? I don't want to see those things.
100%.
It really wasn't about, like, because I've always been open that way.
Yeah. It was definitely like, I want to be home. I want to be comfortable. I want to be, because
I need
that's
to be
grounding.
Safe. I need to be rooted. I am already floating away at all times. Why 100%. Would I want to float away further?
Yes.
That was my belief.
And you had worked so hard to become who you were.
Yeah.
To be so grounded. So I never judged you for it. It was just a notice. It was just something that I was able to notice.
That's okay.
So that was beautiful, because it never got in our way. I love that we're having this conversation. I knew it was going to come up, because what's so cool about it is that you found your way to medicine in your own way. Nothing ever was like, you have to. I knew eventually you would sit. I knew eventually.
No, you didn't.
I did. Eventually I did. I was like,
I
can get her dipping into these other medicines that will help her with her anxiety, that will help her find grounding, because really that's what happens.
I mean, Sadie is like in every, not now, which I know she's jealous of. I was like, you're in every medicine journey I ever took.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just can't be now.
I know, but
we're too busy.
But you love to be. I get it. I want to be in your womb. But yes, like you were someone I felt safe and grounded with, that I knew I could explore this part of myself even more than Andrew, honestly, because Andrew, is just so willing and so adventurous and so all in and just like not afraid. And you are someone who's more afraid. Not now, but maybe as much. But like you said to me, I get afraid too. And I don't want to be blasted to the moon too. And I don't want to be scared too. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like, okay, I could see myself more in you, even though we're so different. Does that make sense?
100%. Well, it's also different when it's your spouse. It's so different.
Yeah.
And also I had been apprenticing with the medicine for so long and I really went in, and I was a teacher and guide before and other things. And so it was like, of course it makes sense. And so I knew it wasn't going to go straight to like, Jenna, you have to sit with grandmother right now. I was like, let's dip into other things. And so and it never was like a full blown, like I was your guide and whatever. It was like sister.
Yeah.
Let's sit together
and let's go do this. Or
yes. Can I be super real?
Totally.
With you?
Obsessed. Yeah.
I, first of all, want to honor and witness. I mean, I just know you so well. You were literally my sister. You had done so much work up until that point. And I also could see that working with plant allies would break you through so much of these beliefs that you had told yourself to believe I knew that they weren't your real beliefs. I knew they were false beliefs within you.
Well, you knew I wasn't really getting anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you were so good. You were there, but like the anxiety and like you were in your head a lot, which makes sense because you're designed. Like none of it I honor all of that, but I was also like, I saw it right there. I was like, Jenna. So it took a second. I didn't go straight to grandmother. In fact, I don't even know if did I ever even like invite you?
No.
Not
and
once. I didn't tell you about my journeys. It just was like when she wants to, well, it says this a projector and a generator thing too. I'm like, when she wants to know, she will invite me to tell her. And that was just like really towards the beginning of my human design understanding as well too. Cause I was like, I knew that once you wanted to know, you'd be ready to know. I couldn't sit down and be like, well, you're going to dance with the devil and you're going to see tribes and, all these things. But we dipped in with different medicine and it helped it make it not so scary. And
I'd been dabbling with like cannabis for a couple years and just had really, really bad, remember that?
I remember
really
that.
Dark, bad experiences with cannabis.
Yeah. The plant medicine.
So that traumatized me further where I was
100%.
like, I'm never doing that.
People don't realize the power of cannabis. I don't think it is one of the most powerful.
It's just so accessible that you're like, everyone's doing it and we're now having it in a cute little candy.
And then it sends you.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah. So that's that's a piece.
Do you want to talk about one of your scary cannabis experiences?
Sure. Yeah, I will.
Tell me.
So one time Andrew and we were like, probably the scariest happened with my knee. So I tore my ACL meniscus in spring of 2021. Yes, that is true. 2021.
It's all such a blur.
It is.
From seriously, like COVID to here.
Time is not real.
Jeez.
I know. So, and I had a pack of gummies and I had explored cannabis in different ways. And I remember it could help me relax. It could help me have like more open sex. It was helping me in a lot of ways. And up to that point, I don't think I'd really had a bad experience because I just hadn't really done much. I don't know. Just really hadn't had a bad experience that I recall. And someone left me to my own devices and I was trying not to take pain pills anymore. Yeah. And I was 2 weeks out from my surgery, maybe not even like 8 days, still very much like being carried to the bathroom in the thick of my pain. And I don't know how many milligrams I took because I was trying not to take pain pills. I was trying to take the cannabis and it felt like that was going to be the healthier option. And I remember.
Did you take like a couple of gummies?
No idea. Probably.
You don't even remember?
I really don't remember. No.
Okay.
It's bad. And I remember Andrew had texted me. He'd gotten a tent on top of his Sprinter van, and it was a picture of his feet. And he was like sitting in our driveway in the tent. And I know he was just trying to feel alive because this time of our life was so dark. We were in the middle of a lawsuit. I tear my ACL. I'm not
deconstructing
there.
Everything.
Deconstructing everything. It was just dark times for the Rammells.
Yeah.
And he texted me this picture And he still has his text. We have to find it one of these days. But I remember I text him, something's happening.
Oh no. When you hear that from Jenna Rammell, you know that she is spiraled into the abyss of her mind and will never come out.
Something is happening. And it just enveloped me into this dark paranoia that unless you've experienced it with cannabis, you may not know what it feels like.
Yeah.
And this would not be an encouraging conversation to tell someone that's wanting to explore plants.
Well, it's just, you just have to be mindful. You just have to be mindful.
And I wasn't. I was gone. And oh my gosh, it was so bad. And I remember Andrew was like, you're going to get through it. But he left. He's like, you're going to be okay. Just keep breathing. You'll be fine. Something like that. He learned his lesson later with mushrooms.
Yeah, when he had that trip.
And that was
hard to have empathy when you're like, it's fine.
He's never had that. So he didn't know what that felt like.
Was it like so much that it was like every breath was like my last?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
And that's when you hear the funny TikToks of people calling the police and being like, I am dying.
Yep.
I ate brownies and now I'm dying. You know, like they believe that.
Literally. Actually. Edibles are so
scary. I will not with those. Anyway, so he left me and my cousin Michaela was there for some reason. I don't remember. I'll have to like ask her what happened, but she laid in the bed with me. We tried peppercorn because we Googled that peppercorn would help absorb the cannabis or something. I was trying to throw up. I remember I walked to the bathroom. At that point, I had not been able, Andrew had been carrying me back and forth. I had no pain. It was actually remarkable. No pain in my knee.
When you were dying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it works. That's the thing about it.
It's great.
But she just stroked my hair. And I remember saying to her, like, how much longer? How much longer? And she just kept stroking my hair. She kept saying, probably just a few more minutes. She told me later, she's like, she knew it was going to be a couple hours, but she just kept telling me, it's just going to be a few more minutes. And that was something I could hang on to. And we put on New Girl, like a lighthearted, just sort of TV show to get through. So that's one of my bad. I have a few. I have two that really stand out and I've never
gone back.
I've never smoked weed since.
Yeah. Cannabis was a saving grace for me. And then I dabbled in gummies and it was like, wow, I almost died. I feel like I died. I feel like that was awful.
I think there's too many jump scares with that.
Yeah.
And these medicines, so much about them everything about them is the intention.
Yeah. It's interesting because although I do love and support anybody and however they're enjoying their plant experiences, but I will tell you, it's insane. I actually am so grateful that I found Grandmother when I did because I found out about the sacred ceremony of it.
Yeah.
And then it helped me integrate that into every medicine that I use. And by doing that, I've never had an experience. The only times I've had like, wow, I will never do that again is when I just pop it in.
You don't know where you are. You don't know what you're doing. Yeah. And that's how often people experience these. And so they're like, why? How could you? How does that bring enlightenment? How does that bring wisdom? How does that bring healing? I get why it's confusing for people.
Yeah.
Because they've taken it like that. And I'm like, there's no healing in that. I like to think that there was in that experience. There's a teacher in that moment too.
Absolutely.
In the darkness.
Absolutely.
But I totally get why people are just like, no.
I actually don't know, at least right now. I mean, I might change this belief later, but I don't necessarily believe there's a bad trip because I think there's a lesson in every trip, in every commune, in every not commune, in every communion, in every ceremony. It's just a matter of have you integrated it. And for me, my cannabis is where, I have to step away from people's auras and ask the medicine if this is willing to be taken and not just think that I can take everybody else and what they want.
Yeah.
And just not like throw it around.
Yeah.
So up until that point, cannabis was really your only medicine. And you were like, no, I want to be on earth. I'm not dying. I'm not doing this. And I felt that from you. And as a projector and as a person of awareness, I will never put something or pressure somebody or even just like ignite the idea because plant medicine is something that like, especially Grandmother, like it has to be calling to you. has to be calling to you. So Andrew, okay, wait, where were we before cannabis?
Well, you asked me to, I was expressing why another layer, not only like, you know, dare to do drugs vibes, but like don't do drugs.
Yeah.
But also then my experience with cannabis.
The fear of it.
Yeah, the fear of it kind of where.
And at that point you kind of had written off. You're like,
I wrote the whole thing off. Never again. Not going to touch that.
Yeah. And then there was a moment when I finally convinced you.
Yeah.
To dip into a different medicine.
Yeah.
And it was fine, just like gently.
Yeah.
We're just gently here.
Yeah.
And, you know, the beautiful thing about most of these medicines is they heal neural pathways, right? And so it's not just a game. I mean, this is scientifically shown.
Yeah.
And what a gift.
Yeah. Such a gift. So Andrew, we'll have to talk to when we get the four of us together, because I don't really know exactly, honestly, what called him to it. But Sadie and Jeff invited Andrew to sit. I believe that's how that happened.
Well, I think that we had many dinners together where like Andrew would ask about it. And Andrew would be like, bro, what about this and this? And he was always so interested.
So lots of little like steps into that direction. So then Andrew decides it's not this flippant, but Andrew decides to sit. And
yeah, we had talked about it at dinners multiple times.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to put together, this was before Medicina. Like actually my house sit was like, if this feels correct and if this works out, I'm on the right direction and I'm going to create Medicina. And I had this beautiful medicine I had been communing with and also like apprenticing with and really getting to know. And I was like, I want my people that I love so much to be there without pressuring anybody. Yeah. And so that's where Andrew came in. He came and sat with us.
And he came home and I remember feeling like I'm going to feel left out. I know that's going to happen to me because FOMO's for real for me. And I was like, oh, all my favorite people are together in the ethers in this experience without me. That makes me sad. But I just wasn't ready. No. And he came home and he shared his experience with me. And he had like this light in his eyes, this crispness. The blue of his eyes had never been so blue. I remember that. It's like we're sitting in his office and he's sharing with me experiences and he's crying and his eyes are just so bright. And he recounted this experience where he saw me in a way that I had been begging to be seen in. Like begging through therapy, through fights, through conversations, through love, through other medicines. Like I had been like, I want you to see this about me. I want to know that you see this about me. And he saw that among many other things with grandmother. And I was just, and he in that moment, like literally changed his and deconstructed not only his religion, but like the patriarchy. And he saw, because grandmother's such a feminine, she is a feminine medicine energy. He saw the power of women and how women's voices had been silenced and my voice had been silenced and our daughters' voices, you know, would potentially be silenced. And I think that was such an awakening that where else was he going to get that?
Yeah.
I can't say for sure that he would have never come to that place, but I don't.
Comes faster.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. So that definitely like planted the seed of like, I wasn't then like, I'm going to do it.
No.
I was still like, that's so great for you and for us. Mm-hmm. And I remember you trying to soothe me and tell me like, it's going to benefit you guys. Like
you were super nervous.
Yeah. I'm like, this is going to be so great for you guys. And it was. But then the hard things kept coming and we just had a really, really hard summer and a really hard end of our lawsuit and really hard end of just like lots of really hard things. And we ended up in therapy again, or maybe still continued. I can't remember. I think we were in a break when he sat with ayahuasca. It just felt like my nervous system had been completely depleted. I didn't have any tools anymore. I didn't have any skills. I was doing all the same. I was doing the therapy. I was doing the yoga. I was doing the things and they weren't working.
We need to paint a picture a little bit here because for people that don't know this part, and you mentioned it a little bit, but I have so many things to talk about as far as like things continuing to get hard and like integration, all those things. However, that's not the point. The point is you were in a point of your life that was so intense, your lawsuit, your literally relearning how to walk, your deconstruction. Also, should we remind you, isn't this around the same time you found your birth mother?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like, of course, like there are layers, there are stepping stones. Andrew sitting with you with grandmother, what a beautiful gift. And also like life is going to continue to life.
Yeah.
That's why I find it so interesting that people are like, wait, you go back? Wait, you do this? I'm like, well, you don't go to yoga once and then I expect it to soothe everything about you. But what's cool is that we have these allies to help and to support us. And you are doing such a good job trying to navigate and also being the breadwinner, running a business. Like there's so many pieces to the depths of where you were.
Yeah, I think I don't give it enough credit. Like I kind of skip over that.
It's a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. And because of a lot of it's really vulnerable and personal, but to paint a really good picture of where we were, that's where we were. It was bad.
You were doing such a good job. And also you were like, how do I get out of this?
Yeah. And I just snapped. Like a month before Medicina, maybe not even a month. Well, I snapped and I was like, I remember, I don't know who I texted this to. I think it was you, but I'm not sure.
Tell me what it was.
I was like, if I have to live like this, like with my brain, the way that it is, like I won't make it.
Yeah, you did tell me that. That's when I was like, is that when I talked to you about Medicina, or did I just was like, okay, let's do something about this?
You never said come to Medicina, not one time. I remember thinking, if I have to live in this brain and with that feels like it's so worn down, I can't handle the sounds of things. I can't handle my kids asking for things. I can't handle any disruptions. You could put me in a room by myself for 5 days and it would not have given me rest. That's when it got really scary for me.
Yeah.
Where I was like, wow, massages, like these self-care things that they talk about.
It was just making
bullshit.
Worse. Yeah.
Didn't fan a flame to like what I was feeling. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Everything just felt like it was heightening everything.
Yeah.
You were just in such a heightened nervous system state of like a flight, a freeze, a fawn, a fight. Like you were just so deeply.
It was bad. It was really, really dark. I can't remember what happened. But a week before Medicina, I think I just texted you and said, I'm coming. And that was exactly 1 year to the date after Andrew sat. 1 year we figured it out.
Yeah. I wish I had remembered how that worked, because I remember talking you through that and processing with you that during that time and making sure you had the proper support. And I also remember we did some ceremonies, we did some stuff, but I also, maybe it was me just in the ethers because I never wanted to pressure you because you're so close to me.
As I recall, you never invited me.
Yeah, maybe I didn't.
I'm not offended by that.
No, I genuinely
really don't think you told me you need to do ayahuasca. I don't remember those words ever, not once.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I remember respecting that after the experience was over. I remember integrating that and being like, how cool that my best friend who had a key was like, I could unlock this door for you. Or not you personally. Like you give the medicine all the power.
You knew about Medicina. You knew that I was doing it because I had. So it wasn't even like I talked about it all the time at dinners.
Yeah, you told me like the powerful stories.
I was like kind of dripping it in. I wasn't ever telling you my stories, but I feel like
you told me your stories.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not all the way. No.
I mean, because nobody can actually equate until.
No. You're going to be like, I turned into a tiger and be like, we need to put you
in the mental
away.
Hospital.
You need help.
Yeah, I remember introducing it a little bit, but I probably didn't, because at that time, I don't think that it would have been received. I think you had to find it on your own.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely true.
Especially with how I remember at that time feeling like if I had even told you to breathe differently.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm remembering now, because in my heart of hearts, I'm like, oh, I should have grabbed you and taken you to Medicina, but
bring you to the cup of life.
Totally.
Yeah.
But at that time, I'm going back to it. And I remember just being so gentle with my text, Stephen.
Yeah.
Like, I see you. I love you. Never giving any kind of advice or encouragement, because that's not what you couldn't handle another thing of me telling you, let's do this differently or let's shift this, because that was literally what was making you crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And my therapist would be like, week over week, she'd be like, did you meditate? I couldn't even meditate. Like, why?
I know.
How could I be alone with my thoughts?
I know.
Don't do that to me.
I know.
Like,
I remember that.
People were trying to give me keys. People were trying to give me help. And I was just like, nay, no. Yep. Like, I don't know why. Deep. I don't know why I was.
I mean, you were just on serious overdrive.
Yeah.
And protection. You were trying to protect yourself. You had been, in the ways you felt betrayed by your body because of your knee.
Yeah.
You've been betrayed by business.
By friendship.
Just everything. Kids are in a tough time.
Religion.
I mean, your
parents
son
leaving.
Shifting sports. Like there's so many parents leaving. Jenna.
Yeah. Finding birth family. Yeah.
So for me to say, hey, come to Medicina, it would have been just like another betrayal because you'd been like, what the actual hell? I'm already, isn't this enough? You know?
Yeah.
So it was actually so powerful for me to get that text from you and be like, because you always knew you were invited. You always knew.
Yes, I can come over whenever I want.
Of course. You literally live in my womb. But it was so powerful to see that. I mean, I will never forget it. I was laying in bed and you texted me and I sat up. I was like, is this a joke?
Andrew was out of town. I remember that because I was by myself in bed, or he was gone for the night.
It wasn't, you guys, this is a week before. I don't know if you know this, but like you have to prepare your body to sit with this very intense medicine. Like we open up a Telegram group 4 weeks before. Like we have a meeting. We help you with your diet to make sure that you're really, detoxing. And this bitch texts me a week before.
I'm coming and you're letting me.
I'm coming. And we made room.
Yeah, you weren't like, oh, we've got a spot for you. We're like, okay, fine. Like you were like big sister vibes about it.
Yeah.
You were excited and happy, but you were also like, you're a pain in the ass.
I mean, you totally were a pain in the ass. You were.
We haven't even gotten to such a pain in the ass.
Oh my God.
Like Sadie knew that like what she was in for. That's why she wasn't just like elated.
Yeah.
You were elated. You were happy.
I absolutely knew it was going to change your life.
You were happy because you knew, and I was like, I cannot do another day. Like I am desperate. I've tried everything. And I'm a person that needs to try everything. Like accountability is something I've been really good at in my life. Yeah. I don't just say like, I have a problem. Oh, what do I do? Like, I'm not that way.
Yep.
I'm like, I can solve it.
Yep.
I'm a solution girly. And that's why being around people who don't want to find solutions, I'm so freaking annoyed by, because I'm like, why do you want to sit and ruminate in this problem and spin? But I could not unspin myself.
So tell me, I don't know if we've ever talked about what got you to text me.
I don't know. I really don't remember. I don't remember.
I mean, because we know you were in the depths.
Well, like my birth mom one time was like, well, what made you want to find me? And it's little things, but also this is just how, I don't know if it's my human design, but it's literally intuition. It's literally like, it's now time.
Yeah. I mean, that's your sacral.
It's now time.
For sure. That's your
like,
sacral.
That's how I operate in business. That's how I operate with and like Andrew has gotten really good at absorbing the shock because he's such a planner and like a futuristic person.
He's an emotional authority for human design people. So he needs space and time.
So he'll think I've been like conniving or preconceiving or like planning. No.
Literally today she sees my bathroom. Oh, I want to redo my whole bathroom. And Andrew's like, you. I was like, how long have you known that? She goes, literally right now.
You're like, it's done. This place is shit and we're changing it.
It sounds like a nightmare, but I support you.
Yeah, I was.
So you just knew and you texted me immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. I just knew there could have been something. I really don't recall.
I mean, just your intuition. That's great.
It was just grating. I mean, I just didn't think I'd survive.
You know what?
I didn't. I tried microdosing mushrooms. I tried a lot of different things. I really did. And I just felt like short of like a brain transplant, I was like, I'm going to need a new personality.
Yeah. A whole rebirth.
Yeah.
Your grandmother gave that to you.
Totally.
What's interesting is the first time I sat was like a week before. I was like, SOS, Doug. There's nothing else I can do for my life.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this, how like it's nice because the prepping sometimes is the worst part. Like people get so terrified and scared, and then it's like, oh, I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
So we find a way. We talk about your diet. You've been doing great, eating lots of cottage cheese. Other than that, you're good. You're ready to go.
Eating my protein,
eating your protein, eating your dairy. And you come to Medicina.
Yeah.
And tell me about your experience.
So what's cool, I was so scared. I have to talk about just like, this is the longest podcast of all time. Are we going to trim it down?
It will trim because Jeff will edit, but it's not. It's only an hour and 20 right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
This is the meat though.
Yeah, this is the good stuff. And this is what people want to know.
People want, yeah.
Because when people are like, tell me about your experience with Aya, I'm like in a question bottle. I'm question page on my like Q&As. I'm like, how would I even, what container? It's not stories. My friend Kylie, I had been working with her. She had done Reiki. So I had committed to Sadie, and I'm like, I'm doing this. And I had that resistance of just like taking that, just the initiative, A, taking the time for myself, and B, spending the money. I told Andrew, he was so supportive, so excited. He had some resistance, and that forced me. It was the beginning of this cool journey I've been on ever since, which is believing and trusting that I know what I need.
Yes.
And that's been something I have never been able to identify before.
I also want to mention even deeper, knowing that you deserve to be invested in.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you did that before.
No. Taking time for myself. I mean, we're not even talking money. We're talking about just
literally the most important currency, which is your time.
Yeah.
Which you as a psycho generator don't do.
I know. And he was over there in the wings being like, go get your nails done. Go get the massage. But the whole time I could not detach from not deserving to take that time. So it didn't even matter anyway.
I mean, of course, maybe some things he said mattered, but also ultimately it was you.
Yeah.
Knowing that you deserve it.
Yeah. So the week leading up to it, I was, of course, like, what am I doing? This is crazy. I can't go back on it now. I don't want to go back on it now. I knew I was going to do it, and that's where I was going to go. And my friend Kylie at the time, she was a facilitator I was working with, and she was doing a lot of Reiki on me. I did hot bae with her for the first time, and I remember how scared I was, which is so funny to me now.
Yeah,
hot bae is so harmless. I mean, it can be intense,
jarring. Yeah,
but I was just so walled to anything like that. But she did, like, do you call it chakra drumming? Like drumming.
Yeah.
What do you call that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's energy drumming. You can drum over your chakras.
She'd like realign chakras and sound drumming bowls, and like and that was like my vibe. I loved that. Like that was kind of what I felt comfortable with. And I talked to a lot of women who like are in that space of like that's sort of what is the phrase, like tickling that? What is the phrase, like stroking?
Not stroking the ego.
No, but like the phrase of like scratching the itch.
Oh yeah, it's enough to make me feel satisfied, but like also enough to make me feel safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's not taking me to the edge.
Totally.
Which, for the record, moms need, because girlfriend, our nervous systems are shot.
Yeah.
So I do see that there's a shadow in this where like people are escaping and are going and like really heightening their nervous systems, which is another reason why I didn't invite you to Medicina.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, we need a second to breathe. Although I do trust that when people are called, even if they have a shot nervous system, grandmother will take care of them so beautifully. But yes.
Yeah. So that was, and I remember I went for my last session with her. I was like, I'm going to go sit with grandmother. And she's like, oh my gosh. And she really, I would say that Kylie was one of the biggest influences for that. She just kept encouraging me. She just kept saying,
so excited for
this might be medicine that you want to sit with, or, you know, I think she actually was one of,
oh, interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what happened, or rather like she helped me sit with Hape. So it was like, she was like, there are medicines that can help you and we'll do what we can here. But like, there is relief. You can find relief, you know? And I think she was really inviting me. And then once I committed, she was such a huge like
anchor.
Yep. Like just, you can do this again. Cause I could see myself in a lot of her. Like she has anxiety and she has, you know, these kind of similar life things that are going on. And I'm like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it, you know? And I think at that point I just saw you in a different way. Like you've transcended those fears in my mind. So like,
it was just nice to have somebody that you felt that you could lean on. Also, it was like I was running it. I was in Medicina. There was false beliefs around it where like I probably could have invited you and have been fine. But like since we're so close contact, you know, like sister, there's just like different nuances.
Yeah. You probably didn't want me there.
Are you kidding me? That's not true. That's not even close to being true.
Well, I mean, it would be an added layer of like, I hope she has a good experience versus strangers.
I mean, there's that pressure, but I also always know it's going to work out perfectly. Like I knew that I had no doubt that it would be amazing. I want all of the people that I love so much. I was sending you invites in the ethers. I didn't ever tell you this, but I was literally dropping prayers like, because I knew it would be so helpful for you. And I also honored that you were having support. But I do remember a couple times before Medicina started where you would like text me and you'd be like, I know you're so busy. I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, why are you making these stories? I'm here to support you. Let me talk you through it. But back then, that was kind of a thing that happened, a theme of like feeling you were inconveniencing, not just me, but just people in general. That I do feel like you've changed.
Yeah, I felt like, well, what do I bring? I'm so broken and so tired and so exhausted and in overdrive. And like, I'm not bringing any gifts to anyone. And I'm just constantly going to Sadie to be like, what do I do? How, like,
which is so not true. I never saw it that way.
But
that's what you felt.
That's what I felt.
I can witness that. That's not true ever.
It's like praying and not being able to find God. You know, I know what that feels like. It's really dark.
Yeah.
It's really dark. Because you're kind of told all the time that you'll be able to find them. And I couldn't. It was like, I don't feel anything anymore. And that scared me.
Lots of numbness.
Yeah. When I stopped caring about anything, I was like, that's bad. So I went to my last session with Kylie and she always pulls cards. And she's got like 6 decks. And she's like, pick a deck, you know, and they're not tarot cards. They're just
like angel cards.
And I always love what they say. And I don't remember. We picked 3 cards and I don't remember what the first 2 were. I took a picture and I remember going and picking a card and then saying, and then picking it and then putting it back and saying, this isn't the card. And then I picked another card and I flipped it over and it was grandmother. It was like so.
I'll never forget that.
Insane.
Yeah. It's so nice to have drips of like, okay, I'm on the right path.
Yeah. The drips is a theme here. Because you don't have to be all in. You don't have to be like this swan dive into like suddenly you're wearing feather earrings, you know? And that's what I would see. And I would be like, I'm not her. I still want to get Botox. Like, but can I also find healing? Like it was confusing to me to be like, I just don't want to be like, does that?
Yeah. Or like feel excited and then also feel absolutely terrifying that you want to leave.
Yeah.
Like that's the swan dive. That's the opposite of the swan dive. It's like, and people are so conditioned to believe that if they feel fear, it's a signpost to run away. And it's so not true.
Yeah.
It's just the anticipation of what's coming next. It's the excitement in your body. It's just you manifesting it or you know, understanding it in a different way other than excitement.
Yeah. And it's transmuting that like anxiety and like knowing that it lives on the same frequency as excitement.
Yes.
Like
they're the same.
They're the same.
Yes.
So I was excited. I felt so held by the experience and by grandmother instantly. And you told me that would be the case. And there were just so many beautiful experiences and like flying down and like listening to my music and listening to the playlist for Medicina and like just feeling so held and seen and like
overnighting
signs.
white clothes.
Overnighting 1,000 white clothes and none of them worked.
No, I think you ended up wearing all my outfits.
Yes. I had a couple, but they didn't come to me. Remember, they went to California. Wild.
Of course they did.
Yeah. So I was scared, but I was also like, this is just what I'm doing. And I remember when I got there, there was someone that was like, you're so in your head. And I instantly felt really annoyed by that. Really annoyed by that. Because I was just like, not everyone has walked down this path 1 zillion times and been in the galactics and been in the ethers and is comfortable there. Some of us like planet Earth, you know? And I feel like that's what was nice, as I felt like there were other people like me.
Yeah. It has to be that way.
Yeah.
Especially in that community, it can get so 5D all the time. And I'm sorry, but we're not supposed to be there.
I know.
And also, it's not my audience. It's not the community that I feel called to serve.
Yeah, it wasn't you that said that. It was
right.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, that's the kind of people that I want to bring forth to this. That's why that's why it's in Utah. That's why I don't move to Costa Rica. That's why I feel called to help the women, especially that are building businesses, and they're who are so beautifully smart. When, by the way, in your head isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, you formulate a lot of beautiful, but then it's like meshing two of them together.
Yeah.
The 5D and the 3D together.
Yeah. So
that was another trigger.
It was a trigger for me. And I was just like, wow, okay. Like suddenly I'm not good enough to be here.
I'm sorry that you felt that way.
It's okay. It's not your fault.
I know I'm not in charge of what other people say, but also that's sad that you felt that.
Well, can you blame someone that's never sat with that kind of medicine before to be in their head and be a little bit anxious or a lot anxious and sweating and
that's what's
uncomfortable
so nice about
and
like
scared?
Exactly.
I feel like that's actually very normal.
That's what's so nice, is that people feel safe enough, hopefully, that's the point, to be able to say that and say, I am in my head. Nobody's coming in there doing cartwheels and feeling butterflies and rainbows and just so excited. Like, it's a very terrifying thing.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is I completely understand that you said that.
Yeah.
Mostly I just want to, it's fine. It's all great that person said that.
It's all a part of it. And that was a part of it. And I think that's the resistance and the, just getting there. I mean, it's like you just start to feel this, like, this is going to do something. This is going to change something for me. And I remember people asking my intention, and I would just laugh and make a joke and be like, I just want to be completely different. I just want to come back. You're not even going to know who I am. Like,
completely different.
We're not going to be friends anymore because I'm going to be a different person, because that's what I need. I want.
Yeah.
Put me, no more Jenna of yesteryear.
Yeah.
I want a new, shinier version immediately. So, how deep are we getting into this experience? Just kind of,
whatever you want to share, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
It was the scariest thing I'd ever done, for sure. I was so scared. And
lots of flight risks.
I was in my life. I was in Medicina the way that I am in my life. If you know me at all, I'm always trying to leave. And there we go. Back to this always feeling ungrounded, always feeling like I'm floating, always feeling in flight or fight. I have felt that way every day of my life at that point, it was last year. So I guess 37 years. And that's how I cope. So the whole time I'm trying to leave. The whole time actually not leading up to the first night. The flight risks came after the first night, if I recall. Maybe I was trying to leave the whole time.
I don't remember. I don't remember I knew that you were like really, really, really super uncomfortable, and I held space for it. And then it was continually night after night.
Yeah.
You were feeling very super, super nervous and
inward.
Yeah.
Didn't really try to talk to anyone. Didn't really want to make friends with anyone. That wasn't the point. To be rude, or it just is my process. I was just really, really inward. And
which, by the way, the flight risk situation is pretty normal. Like, we actually ask everyone to commit to themselves to be there the whole time because there's such intricate messages and medicine for both nights, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's pretty common, like, to feel scared, want to leave. And because we're so close, you felt like you could be really like real and be like,
yeah, had you not been who you are, I would have just kept it all to myself. And I know Dee Dee, so I was just like,
I actually think
I'm just going to go. So thank you for this. Here's my dollars and I'm out of here. My experience was, there's so much to it. Obviously, I always relate that every person's grandmother experience is like a birth story. It's all the same. It's all the same. You get dilated to a 10 and then a baby comes.
And it's also all so
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you're sitting there and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you were a 7. And then you got more effaced. And then the baby, wait, what happened with it? Like there's so many different parts of the same thing.
Totally.
Like I now, if someone sat with grandmother, I'm like,
I know.
Just like tell me everything from the start.
I know.
So I had, I just instantly like was brought to my birth and instantly like that to me, there's so many parts of it that stand out. But the first part was just, I could never visit these places in my mind and heal these parts of myself without letting go. And I control and resist and hold on until I am no one can hold on stronger than me. So this is what it was. This is what it took. This is what it took for me was medicine and grandmother specifically. I just don't think I'm having an experience with ketamine right now. That doing ketamine treatments that is very so different, but also similar in the sense that it helps you lose, the ego and let go. So I can't, what can I say? I can't say that grandmother's the only way. I can't, that's unfair of me to say. But up until that point, it was definitely the only way for me.
Yep.
And so I remember I was just instantly taken there. And I do remember feeling kind of annoyed by that. Like, oh my gosh, here we are again. Like, so what? You're adopted. Like, get over it. I kind of felt that way. But then also I was like in such great love and compassion for myself. And that's what happened. I stopped letting myself think, get over it, get past it. It's stupid. It doesn't define me. It doesn't affect me. And I just let myself be sad about it. And I remember, and if you remember, I just cried and I was like, I was just a baby. I was just a baby. And you were whispered in my ear, you were just a baby. Yes. I'm like, it's so sad. And you're like, it is so sad. And like, I just let myself be sad.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to fix it, instead of trying to make it better, instead of trying to learn lessons from it, instead of trying to like evolve from it, I was just like, this is just so sad that a baby is born and then given away. And I always want to, even sitting here, I'm like, but I went to the best family, but it was for the best, but it was part of the plan. Like, I want to just tie all the bows. And in that experience, I could just look at the trauma of it and let it be traumatic.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I mean, just that experience alone. And then it goes on all night long. But just that experience alone was the first part of it for me. Was so healing.
Profound. Yeah.
So healing for me.
Just surrender to the emotions.
Yes.
Without creating a story.
Something that surprised me, was that there's fun parts. No one told me that. I don't know if that's true for everyone, but I had a lot of fun. Sadie knows that.
I'm sure I told you.
No, you didn't.
Promise you I told you it was enjoyable and there was music. I know I told you that.
I thought that was just like, it's just so amazing and miraculous and amazing. And because you learn from it. Because you puke all night.
You thought that that's what I was saying when I said it was amazing.
You didn't tell me you actually had actual fun.
I mean, I use those words. I feel like I use those words, but you just use it. Nobody understands.
No one understands. It doesn't matter. You weren't doing anything wrong.
I know.
You were probably saying that. But I didn't believe you.
Yeah, right.
Because what you hear are the stories.
Yeah. And you're like, because of that, it was amazing. There are actual celebration pieces within it. that are like literally the most euphoric, stunning.
They're so incredible. And you're just like moving past all of this. And you're like, then you get to celebrate and you get in the hard part and then you feel it and you move through it and you process it and then you get to celebrate. And it's the places I went in that experience changed me. It just changed me. It
Yeah.
It just changed me. I don't know.
You got what you wanted in your intention.
Yeah.
Brand shiny new.
Brand shiny new Jenna.
The Jenna that I've always seen. The Jenna that I always knew, but it didn't matter. I could have taken you through millions of hypnotherapy, Reiki, whatever it was, but you honor and needed that. And that is beautiful that you gave yourself that.
Yeah, I had to do that experience by myself.
Because it showed you. It showed you.
Yeah.
Because you have lots of people around you that love you so much that can show you and tell you all those things, but it doesn't matter until you find that. And grandmother showed you.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It's really incredible technology. Incredible, beautiful, sacred.
Now I'm an evangelist. Now I'm like, I'm not like you where I hold back. I'm like, you really should sit with grandmother.
Well, just for the record, I created a retreat to invite everybody. I just didn't do that because I didn't ever want to make you feel pressured.
It was the way you had to do it. Had you been on me about it,
you would have never, Jenna.
I would have been like, no, I would have built up more walls.
Yes.
I know. No, it was the way.
I just knew it.
It was the way. That was the way. And the medicine is like, the medicine is incredible, but the people are the medicine and the music is the medicine and the people surrounding you are the medicine and your mat is the medicine and your altar is the medicine and like the toilet is the medicine. And it's just like this beautiful experience of like everything is teaching you. There is no way that I know of to walk away from this experience not changed and not accessing things that you had wanted to for so long. There was that time I got really, really stuck and I feel like I was pretty good in the medicine about moving through the medicine for a first timer, maybe.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Like I saw the people on the mat and I was like, I don't want to be them. I know that that's not what I want to do. Everyone has their own process.
You knew that first of all, with Medicina is we take you through a journey of giving you tools to help you move through things. And so with those tools, you knew how to do what you needed to do as far as dancing or moving it or Reiki energy. Like you were so beautiful to witness.
I was not ever on my mat the whole time.
It was so stunning. Like
everyone's like, where is Jenna now? Like to me, it's crazy that people would wake up in the same place
Yeah, sometimes people just need the best healing on their mats, laying down, sleeping, and they travels and grandmother. Some fall asleep, yeah. It's exactly what they need. And grandmother shows you exactly what you need.
I would like to fall asleep. So that would be nice.
There's been times where I've fell asleep at like the beginning and then I'll wake up and I'm like in the medicine and it's just because I needed it. I was tired and you can feel her cellularly working through you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I definitely felt that like in the second night more a sleepy state for sure. Mm-hmm. Just you're so tired too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was wild. That was wild to witness and in myself. But there was that time that I got stuck and Andrew and I had just been like really going through it, like really just unable to see each other and unearth some things that I wanted to. Like I knew that I loved him so much and I just couldn't see it anymore. I just was like, he doesn't see me. I don't see him. I don't know what's here anymore besides our history. Like I love him. He loves me, but like, is this it? This is what we're doing the rest of our lives. And I got stuck in that, and I was so stuck in the medicine. And I was just like, I am not okay. I was sitting by the toilet and I was like, I am not okay. And I started to see like the sacred geometry and the colors. And through it, I felt someone touch my thigh. It was one of your helpers, but it was a man. And I instantly saw Andrew, like he just came right through. And I remember whispering, there you are.
Mm.
And it was like so significant because it was like in that darkest moment, I needed to feel grounded, and there was my guy.
Yeah.
And it was just confirmation. And the second he came through, grandmother was like, all of this that you feel about him is fake.
Mm.
These feelings are fake. And I started to throw up. And in the throw up were words like annoyance, frustration, irritation, dishes, kids, crap. Like this stuff is just fake. It's just crap. Like beneath it all is like you are each other. You belong to each other.
Yeah.
And you have this deeper
connection
together. So that was huge too for me.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So many cool moments like that. Like literally so many.
Yeah. Have you journaled all of them down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I journaled them. Yeah. Like,
well, I mean, there was time to do that, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. I wrote it all down.
Because there's nothing like going back and being like, and you know, the integration piece is just years and years in the making. You'll be in the grocery store and something will like come through.
I know.
And you'll just be like, oh my gosh.
And the depths of the medicine, you're like, that part too, I was just like, all I want to do is go home. Like, I just want to go home. I actually like it there. I have the gift and the blessing and the privilege of liking my life.
Which is what's interesting about like medicine and medicina is because, you know, we created this perfect little bow of like start to finish. Yeah. And then people get this really deep gratitude for living. And they're like, actually just want to be with my kids. I'm like, okay, I get it, but just hang on a second.
Yeah, you want to go home.
Totally. Which is actually such a gift. Like that's literally the point, is just to like really relish into who you are in the 3D.
Yeah.
You know, but there's pieces and integration and stuff, but it's so, and it was so beautiful to witness you in that space. I had a moment where I was looking around and I was like, almost all of my favorite people in the world are just expressing and enjoying themselves. And it's just so beautiful to share something that means so much to me and has changed my life so profoundly with people that I love so much, seeing real breakthroughs. Like when I was watching you dancing, it was like, can I say that I was watching that thing?
Yeah, of course.
And that it was just like, there she is.
Oh,
she gets it and she feels it finally for herself. Like no more having to run and control and let go. Like she finally let go. And I was like, oh, it was just such a beautiful moment. And you were throwing me I love you signs through your hands and heart signs. And it was just so, there's nothing, I feel really honored and grateful to hold the medicina space and that it came through for me. It's been a really interesting privilege and a lot of work, but also even more than that, it feels really beautiful that I can bring people that I love to a space that's really, really safe to then experience it in a way that is really profound, you know, because my journey was so lonely and alone and I had to figure it out for so many years. And so then to bring it together to a place that it really like completes the space.
Yeah. It's such a gift. You have such a gift. And when I was in the medicine and even in my own journey and there were just moments of like looking at Sadie and being like, oh, does she even know what she has done? And I know you get crap about it. I know you do. And that's hard because I know why and I see why. But it's hard as someone who's experienced it and who knows the sacredness in which you hold the medicine and the respect, the work, the times you've spent in the jungle by yourself. Like, I just don't know if people get it.
Yeah.
And I know that's what makes it really tough to talk about because you're just gonna get this like pushback about it. And just witnessing you in that space, I finally woke up to like what you had been doing and the work you had been putting in and the container that you're able to hold. It's literally unearthly. It's magic.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
It's magic, but it's also discipline. It's an incredible amount of discipline. It's not just that she's born with it or that you're really gifted at it. I used to think that like she can just do something I can't do, which is true. But
we all have our strengths.
But also you have the discipline.
Yeah, the devotion to it.
Yeah.
It's a deep devotion.
Exactly.
I mean, it almost made it so I didn't do medicina. Like the loud noises, the voices, the rumors, the judgments, especially in Utah, you know? And I knew that if it wasn't supposed to happen, grandmother would not let it happen, especially at this magnitude. And it's so crazy to see how ethically weaved, how supported we are by the Indigenous community, protected by churches. Like, it's just amazing. And so it's like, why would I let judgments, like, why would I stop from judgments, you know? And it's like,
because your ego, it would make sense if you stop because of judgments, but you continue to do the work to.
It's like so much more than, okay, I feel sad that people are judging me or spreading rumors about me. It's so much more because I genuinely feel like I have an obligation to create a safe place for people to find this space.
Well, I am the person, like, that's what I'm saying here. And that's why I'm sharing my stories, because I am the type of person that you create a bridge for. Mm-hmm. I am not going to find myself in Costa Rica on the ground.
Yeah.
With cockroaches. I'm not.
We are a privileged people, and some people cannot handle that. And I understand
I don't know. I don't want to feel shame about that, but I just feel like that's the bridge that Medicina gave me, was like, I want healing too. I want this too. I want to be free of this too. And I don't feel safe to do that yet. So how can you help me?
Yeah. And you found safety in Medicina.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's hard because there's definitely, there's opinions everywhere, and it's so interesting to like feel them and then just like hold my center in devotion. You understand how hard of a path this has been. And I know that if grandmother wasn't meant to show up in here in America, it wouldn't have. And at the same time, I can believe that. And I can also understand that there's very unethically practicing people in their basement and people that haven't had the blessing of Indigenous. But I'm telling you right now, if I am consistently learning in deep devotion, and I'm not perfect, but the things that happen behind the scenes that people don't see, the donations that are made, the hours of teaching, the hours of devotion to my elders, it's okay for people to judge me.
Yeah.
Because it's actually not even about me. It's not even mine. It's like, there was an idea, it dropped through my vessel, and I was just brave enough to execute it.
Yeah.
And the idea and everything that has been created for Medicina is my idea, like the whole curriculum. But it's just based off of, if I wanted this when I sat, what would I have wanted? So then I put it in.
Yeah. I'm proud of you.
It's crazy.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
And I love you so much. And I'm so grateful for this experience, and grateful that you gave me and my husband the bridge to this world. And, you know, it's other than life-changing, I really don't have another phrase for it. It saved me. It really just saved me. Grandmother saved me. I do not know where I would be right now. Yeah. I was so dark.
Yeah. What was your favorite part outside of the medicine part? Is there a part at Medicina that you loved? That was your favorite part?
That's hard. Probably Hugh, the horse. The horses.
There's no better.
It's magic.
There's just no better way to understand surrender than watching the most benevolent beast, surrender.
And you hear that word and you're just like, well, I know how to surrender. I know how to surrender. And you don't until you're in that experience and you're like, all I can actually do is surrender.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. Well, what's really beautiful for me to see is that you trusted yourself and you said yes, because I can create the spaces and the containers and the experiences, but nothing else matters if you don't say yes to yourself. And what happened at Medicina is that you just called yourself home.
Yeah.
You came home and you found grounding in music as a child. You found grounding in road trips with your father, and you found grounding in Andrew. And dare I say, now you can find grounding in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Like never before. Like, I know that I have the tools and I know that I'm safe within my own self. I can trust myself. We have so much knowing.
Yeah.
And we deny it our whole lives.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have something I don't have.
I know.
And I don't have something you don't have.
It's our medicine. And it's like, can people just see it? And grandmother just helps us see it faster.
Yeah.
And more clearly. She opens the doors that are closed.
Yeah.
Keeps them open. And it's the devotion beyond that. Like the integration is the most important part. And so you weaving, it's been a year?
Yeah.
Oh my
It's been a
gosh. Happy
year.
1 year.
Thank you.
And you've been able to find other tools to
Yeah.
continue to help.
Yeah.
And no shame around that.
Yeah. I think that when I started working with ketamine, it wasn't because I was desperate, actually. It was because I was in a different place than when I was sitting with grandmother. And I still have that challenge of grounding myself, of letting go, of giving myself rest. Like I have a neurodivergency. Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to be above that in my life.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Well,
I'm
it's your
overstimulated.
design, it's who you are.
Period.
Totally.
So ketamine has just given my neural pathways a break
and chance to settle.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's much more, you have to admit, it's just much more of an attainable thing than grandmother.
So accessible
and
it's
no diet required. It's really, really, really cool medicine.
It's such a gift.
Yeah.
I also love, even just the concept of plant allies, but even just synthetic medicines that are so helpful for us that are much easier to access. But I also love that grandmother was able to blow that open for you to then be able to feel like the other things are not as difficult to access.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like that frequency I reach for and I know how it feels. And so I crave it. And I want to find rest and I want to find joy and I want to find exhilaration and I want to find peace and I want to reach because I've been there.
Yeah.
I felt, to me, like in my ayahuasca experience, I felt what I dream of heaven to be like.
Yeah.
That feeling of just pure love from God.
Mm-hmm.
Like I met a God in that experience that I had never witnessed before.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I am like, teach me, God, how to be there.
Yep. And that's the integration piece is you can go and say, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to spend the money. I'm going to take my experience and go to a retreat center and everything's catered for you and you have the best food and there's crystals and a million helpers, but it's the devotion to yourself after where you're like, I'm so proud of you when you rest, when you're bleeding, right? It's like those things and that takes devotion.
Yeah, it does.
That takes, and it might be harder for some people than others. This is a kind of a rant, but I was talking to Liza and she was just like, finally, for the first time, I was feeling like really, really supported in different ways. And I was like, this is not really the easier path. Like, it's not. What would be easier for me is to stay addicted. What would be easier for me is to stay asleep and just pretend like everything's fine. But I take the time every day to do these things that help me stay devoted. And guess what happens on the other side, Jenna, is we laugh together, me and you, and we play and we have fun and life is so much more vibrant.
100%.
It's not always about the easier path. That's not going to get us anywhere.
And it's not all about the pain. Like,
not even close.
That's like what I'm learning this season too, is like I have learned so much
through the suffering.
Now
it's the pleasure
and
piece.
Through the purging and through the pain. And now I'm just like, what can I learn from the dancing, from the singing, from the joy, from the happiness, from the connection, from the community?
Yep. From the feminine essence of pleasure and understanding. That's why I love the rose.
Yes.
Because it's just like, here it is.
Yeah.
And you can alchemize so much through laughter, through pleasure, through enjoyment. And we deserve that. Everyone deserves that.
Yeah.
And it can be found in so many different facets. And that's actually one of my favorite parts about Grandmother is that it's like literally the best concert you could ever have.
Yeah. And people are on guitars and you're like, I swear to you, I'm like at it. I don't know what. Where am I?
The best concert of your life.
Taylor Swift. Not
literally.
Why did I say Taylor? I don't know.
You don't even like Taylor.
Casey Musgraves.
Yes. What would you say to somebody who is considering Medicina or like saw it or like, heard about Grandmother and is just like, this is, just thinking about it?
Yeah. Well, I think it's something to look at. Like when you are feeling called to it, when you hear that phrase, like called to it, you might think I'm excited about it or I feel at peace about it. And that just wasn't my experience. Like, we don't always do the things that feel right.
Yeah.
Like, what is even feeling right?
I know.
I've had to look at it differently in my life since that experience, because that was a big teacher to me of like, I was freaking scared to go. I didn't want to go. I was kicking and screaming and throwing tantrums the whole freaking time.
And it changed your life.
And it changed my life. So what does that teach me?
Fear is your compass.
Yeah.
Like, what could happen to us on the other side? The best experiences of my life.
I know. And also, what's the worst that could happen? Like, you come out a more enlightened, better person.
Totally.
Happier, more at peace.
Totally. Yeah.
I don't know. That was my experience. I know that not everyone has that experience.
So lean into the fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're here for a reason. I think you're hearing about it for a reason. I think get curious instead of getting scared.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have anything else to say?
I love you.
I love you.
Thanks for having me.
It was amazing. I loved that you were able to have a space to talk about your experience.
Thank you. I've just not had that. So thank you for offering that to me.
And thanks for being brave and saying yes to yourself and finding your own way of healing. It's been such a honor to witness as a sister and a friend. And I just think you are really an incredible human. And it's really beautiful to see yourself the way I see you.
I love you. I want to say all that back to you. I'm your mirror.
I hope you find your own wild today. And if you're feeling curious about Medicina, you can DM me or look up the landing page, and we're here for you. The next Medicina is in May, the first weekend of May. So come and join us if you feel called.
I know is I feel jealous. Like last time you had the winter Medicina, I was just like, I want to be there. I want to be there.
All I know is that Jenna might just actually show up for spring. You might
see me creeping in the bushes. It's just like that kind of feeling of like, in the end, you talked about like not people always want to go home, but like I was scared to leave too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a mix. That's what's so great about bringing the 5D to the 3D.
Yeah.
It's never about escaping. It's about finding these tools and like capturing them in your knapsack and then like coming home and like sharing your crystals with your kids. And it's okay to have a refresh and a reboost and a reset. And a lot of women actually, and men too, this is a all gender, but they come back to Medicina multiple times, which is so fun. So here we go. Okay, for real, we're stopping. You are never too much and always enough. I love you so much. Have a beautiful day.